Get started. Again, just want to say good morning and thank you to all of those who have joined us this morning. Truly, truly appreciative. Thank you for joining what is our third community coffee conversation. Today, I am joined by our youth guidance CEO, Michelle Morrison. But before I officially introduce Michelle and bring her into the conversation, I'd like to elaborate on our three C's, the importance of the three C's, right, that you see here on the screen. So, our theme and model when it comes to this work in supporting young people is collective collaboration plus collective effort equals collective impact. We don't do this work alone. It truly takes a village. And right, that's why we have these virtual community coffee conversations and why they are important. So today we want to share that how that mindset has contributed to the success of contribute to our success as an organization, but also how it has allowed for us to have lasting impact when it comes to SEL and mental health growth in our scholars. So today you will hear and learn about how we got here, what went into the decision to bringing Bam and Wild to Boston. We will also hear from a few of our YG scholars about their experience with the program. And then at the end, we'll open it up for some Q&A and conversation. And I'm really excited to hear from folks, answer some of the questions that you all have. So next slide. Thank you. Want to start by saying, Michelle, welcome and thank you for joining us this morning. Want to take a minute to introduce our CEO. But before I do, I want to take a minute to personally thank you for all the support that you have provided to me personally and as well as YG Boston. And in a little bit, we're going to get into just how much you support and believe in the work that we are doing here in Boston. But um, want to give you a couple of minutes, right, to say a few words about our national office and how it supports Boston and other geographies across the country, right? And how does that support help drive impact? So without further ado, Michelle Morrison, CEO of Youth Guidance.
Morning, and thank you, Shawn. It's so good to see you and be in community with you. It is truly my greatest honor to serve as CEO of Youth Guidance. We are completely focused on improving outcomes for young people, and without you and the entire Boston team and advisory council, we could not fulfill that mission. So thank you. We are one, organization. We are one youth guidance. We're all part of this glorious effort. And our role at the national office is really to provide support for you to fulfill that mission. So that includes both strategy. So really, how can we best work together to make sure that we are driving impact? So it's really, that our work as an organization is completely focused on young people, keeping their needs at the center. And so how as a national organization can we help you do that as a leader? So that includes technical support, but it also includes, things that help on the data side, evaluation side, the helping mobilize resources, being able to enlist champions across the country, helping to elevate the incredible work you're doing, right? Whether it's, helping people understand from the youth perspective, the impact we're having, from the school communities, the school administrators and leaders' perspectives, the value add that youth guidance is having in the Boston area. That's our work. And then it's also to create space so that you as a leader and your incredible team can be in community with others doing this work across the country and really making sure that we're uplifting best practices, we're sharing best practices, and also tackling challenges together, which I know we're going to get into a
Okay,
little bit
okay.
later. But
Yes.
how do we, as an organization, support you not only through the best of times, but also the toughest times, and serve as thought partners, and being able to get through those tough times. So again, really appreciate being here and looking forward to the conversation.
Hey, Ashay, thank you, thank you. And again, thank you for being here. That is a great segue right into our next slide, right? When we talk about the impact of the work, right, both locally and nationally, it is all made possible, like you said, through right, the supports that we receive, the intentionality around the collaboration, working together to ensure that we are running program with fidelity to the model, right? That allows us to continue to be successful. So this next slide, I want to share a little bit of the journey has looked like here in Boston, right? They say time flies when you're having fun, and having fun is actually one of our YG norms and the foundation of our Bam and Wow program. So, right, it's also connected to the parallel process. So, when I look at this slide, I truly can't believe, right, that we're coming up on 10 years since we've launched the program in 2017. It's just like, wow. So, couple of things that I want to highlight before right diving into the slide. Next year, again, as I said, will mark a decade of youth guidance in Greater Boston. So a few points, right? Our data continues to prove our positive impact year in and year out. We are seeing strong SEL and mental health impact data from our BAM and WOW programs. We're seeing growth across all 14 subscales of the HSA peer assessment for our BAM program, and we're also seeing significant growth in our WOW pre and post assessments. So happy to also report that members of our founding BAM cohort who started the program in 2017 have graduated from college, right? And are young professionals in the field still involved in the program through our alumni engagement work that we're doing and paying it forward. One of our BAM first BAM scholars actually works in the Boston Public School, right? So that is truly full circle to see him come through the program and now paying it forward and working in the Boston Public Schools. And just recently, we were having a conversation, and he was talking about how he uses the BAM core values still in dealing and supporting his scholars and his students. So truly, it's a real experience, right? Because for us, that is the goal when we talk about BAM and WOW, is having our young people learn and internalize those values and then practice them in the real world. And we see that. So we are also working upstream. What does that mean? Meaning we are serving scholars at a younger age, at the middle school level, starting at sixth grade, which is enabling us to be with them and their families sooner and stay with them longer. This has really allowed us to double down on parent engagement and involving parents in the work. So we've added our third national program and our at work program. At work allows us to support post-secondary pathway planning for our scholars. It is an extension of BAM. We're often asked, BAM and WOW, we're often asked, well, what happens when the scholars age or phase out of the program? And one of the things we say, right, they never age or phase out. This is a lifelong commitment to our scholars, but also, right, at work allows us to have that conversation around what is next. So excited to have that program here as well, and the support from National and implementing that program. With our expansion into Brockton, we've begun our growth to a regional hub model, right? That's allowing us to serve scholars in the gateway cities where the need is truly great. So been excited about that. But as I dive into some of the information on the slide here, you will see that in 2017, when we launched the program, the goal was to serve 150 scholars across 3 BPS schools. And in that year, we served 168 BAM scholars across 4 BPS schools. Year two, we served about 330 scholars in 7 schools. through two school districts. Year two, we added a second school district in Cambridge. Cambridge saw the work that we were doing with young black and brown boys and said, listen, we have programs, but we don't offer and do what BAM does. So we would love to have the program in Cambridge. So that led to having a meeting with the superintendent and the head of school at Cambridge, who then joined a BAM circle. And after they joined that BAM circle, superintendent said, yes, we need this. So we ended up launching in year two in Cambridge, and that's what allowed us to be able to serve well over 300. I want to point out that we had a sustainability plan, which is a 4-year, 5-year sustainability plan of serving 450 scholars across one school district, and that was just the Boston Public Schools. Like I said, by year two, we were serving two school districts. By year three, we added our third school district in Somerville. So that year saw us serve well over 500, actually not 500, it was at that time well over 600 scholars, right? I believe we were serving 660 scholars by 2022. During the pandemic, we introduced our WOW program, right? So that was another program that we added, national evidence-based program that we added to our portfolio during that time. And then when we fast forward to 2025, we had served well over 3,500 scholars in those three school districts. And when we look at the number of scholars we serve in totality at the end of 2026, by the end of this academic year, we would have served well over 4,300 scholars. And that means, right, not just only serving them in Bama Wow circles, but serving them in individual services, brief encounters, things of that nature. Also, being able to connect them and families to opportunities in the community. So that is some of the highlights and experiences that we've had since we've launched the program in 2017. We also grew our portfolio to offer programming through gateway cities, right? And opening our first gateway city expansion with Brockton. You heard me mention Brockton earlier. That is our first expansion city to the gateway cities. And that begins the implementation of our regional hub model. This was something that we were talking to the previous governor around our capacity, Governor Baker, around our capacity to expand to gateway cities. And this allowed us to do that. The regional hub model allowed us to really now look at what that looks like and make that reality, make that dream become reality. So I'm excited about that opportunity. I want to transition now to our next slide and invite Michelle to join me again as we do somewhat of a fireside chat and just have a conversation around how do we get here, what it took, and things of that nature. So, Michelle.
Shawn, what you just described is it's breathtaking. It literally takes my breath away that what you've achieved um, over such really, I mean, a decade. I mean, you achieve so much, and of course, in total, like Boston style, like overachieved, right? Like you set a goal and then you go higher. It's incredible, and it's monumental. And I would love to just reflect on, because I was there in the beginning, I'd love to reflect a little bit on what that was like. You know, we had just come off the rigorous external evaluation of BAM, right? So, BAM was created by a youth guidance staff member who had been paying incredibly close attention to what was going on with young men in Chicago, and coupled with his own personal experience, uh, developed BAM. And then we had, we put our hat in a ring to go through a gold standard medical style external evaluation of the program, because we could see up close that something special was happening. Like something was working here and it was real and it was needed. And so we went through, this randomized control study by the University of Chicago. And, the results were remarkable. They were astonishing in terms of the impact BAM was having. Not only in improving like education outcomes, so almost 20% increase in on-time graduation rates for young men who started on track to fail, not on track to succeed. A 50% reduction in arrests for violent crime, a 30% reduction for other crime, dramatic improvements in mental health, mental well-being. So we had just come off that, the demonstrated impact,
Sure.
and had an opportunity to expand the program across Chicago. So really developing ourselves as an organization to figure out how do you help bring something that's working to just such a diverse set of communities across the city of Chicago, to thousands of young men. And we're a Chicago organization, like that's who we've always been.
Okay.
And we were given this opportunity, right, through, kind of the presidential platform, President Obama and others who saw what was going on directly themselves and said, this works, something is working here. How do we make this available to other cities? And as an organization, we had this like kind of existential crisis around like, how have we developed something that's working and we're only going to make it available in, one city? Like we really had to be challenged that we had a moral imperative to figure out how do we help other cities who are reaching out to us, with similar challenges, with real disparity in education outcomes, health and wellness outcomes, life outcomes, particularly for boys and young men of color. How could we say, oh, we have something that works, but you can't have it? And I remember we had a board member who said, like, it's like we developed the iPad and we're the only ones who are going to use it. And, it was such a compelling way of saying it. And we did, wrestle with that. Just to be honest with you, it was like, how would we even know how to do that? How would we be able to support another city? And it isn't just a matter of like sharing technology. The stakes are so much higher. They're so much more profound. We're talking about saving lives and transforming lives. So, it was an incredible kind of realization that we had something and we had to learn and grow up and figure out how can we help other cities benefit young men by having access to it. And Boston was the first city that mobilized around this. Like, you talk about collaboration, Shawn. I've never seen anything like it.
Right.
The passion, the fierce determination of the leaders across the city who came together. You had elected officials, you had government agency leaders who were passionate about, they were not in denial about the challenges in Boston. They were facing them head on. They were rigorously scouring the country to say, if there are solutions that are going to benefit young people in Boston, we are going to figure out a way to get it here. And it really was a combination of, city leaders, Boston public school education leaders, philanthropists, those who are trying to figure out how to improve outcomes for boys and young men of color, business leaders and community-based community organizers, community leaders who came together and truly collaborated and worked closely with us to figure out how, in a very disciplined and rigorous way, could we bring BAM to Boston. So I learned so much as a leader here. Through the leaders I was able to, this is not a one-way street. The leaders I was able to spend time with, Ron Dorsey and Makiba McCreary and, so many, Thaddeus, so many incredible leaders, and leaders in the mayor's office. And, again, an incredible mobilization around this. And you talked about a sustainability plan. It was
Mhm.
never about bringing something in that was short term. It was for the long haul. And
Okay.
knowing we were going to
Yeah.
start with a small number of young people and then grow to meet the true need. And one of the first things we had to do is figure out who was going to lead this, um, who would have both the professional expertise, but also the kind of personal mission
Okay.
um, that was, coming from a place of purpose and determination. Who could lead this? Who could attract top talent, knowing that the young people in Boston um, deserve the best?
Okay.
And it was an amazing process to um, find you. To
Awesome.
have you be
Awesome.
the,
Awesome.
the, the
Um,
first executive director, and I'd love to
wow.
reflect on that if we have the
Well,
time.
yes, yes, yes. And I know our scholars are, and I'm excited to get them in this conversation. So I might flip the agenda a little bit, but I
Go
did want
ahead.
to say, right, um, Michelle, when you were talking about all the champions and the work and the foundation that was laid prior to BAM coming here, you're right, right. That was one of the reasons why I accepted this opportunity, right? I say oftentimes the implementation of YG Boston was masterfully done, right? And that's from the creation of the advisory council, the couple of years that were put in prior to the decision being made. Because I heard about it a couple of years before BAM came to Boston, right? I remember one of my mentors saying, "There's this program coming to Boston, and it has your name all on it, right, all over it." But they said, "We know you're leading your baby at the time, which was Diamond Educators, and we don't know if you leave that." So I remember that conversation. And then when it came and it was a reality, it was like, nah, it's official. And you need to do your research and look into this, right? And that conversation was had when I was on my way to the White House to visit President Obama with a group of young men through, some work I was doing in the city and also with Diamond Educators. But one of those person I also want to elevate you, right? You talked about that as you talked about McKeeba, Ron, Conan. The late judge, right, Leslie Harris as well was a huge champion for us and an advocate. So also wanted to, again, when I say, right, that is the reason why I accepted this opportunity. For me, it was an opportunity to do the work that I was already doing, but do it on a larger scale and for lack of a better words with a machine behind me, right? When you think about all those folks that you named that and that were part of that process, when you think about youth guidance as a national organization that has been around for over 100 years, and then you think about the Boston Public Schools in the city of Boston, like you said, both who acknowledged, right, what some of the challenge was and were working at that time. The BPS was acknowledging the school to prison pipeline and working to dismantle it, right? That was a priority. So when you think about our set of data and metrics through the RCT study, it just made sense, right? I heard you talk about the competitive process. Across the country. But again, when we look at the RCT data, right, that shows reduction in violence, increase in graduation rates, and things of that nature, it just made sense, right? And then the city of Boston's commitment. So when you have those three organizations, right, coming together, for me, it was like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. And then how the advisory council was put together, right, as again, for lack of a better word, guardrails to allow this transition of a program from out of the state was amazing. So truly honored. I tell people after I did that research in DC, I've never wanted something more professionally in my life than to lead this organization, right? And that was because of the core values, right, that I saw with Ben. It was like, this isn't work for me, right? I don't have to pretend this. I don't have to learn. I do this. This is embedded. So that was right. That was you know, a key decision. Um, and why I made the decision to, right, accept. When you offered, I remember that call, right? I couldn't believe it. I remember when you called me, it was like, listen, we want to hire you. I was like, wait, what? Is this real? And so, yeah, it was,
I'm pretty sure, Sean, sorry to interrupt you. I'm pretty sure you thought you bombed the interview, right? And that's what, and now that you've hired how many BAM counselors, you know that the BAM
yes,
counselors who thought they bombed it are exactly the ones because they're feeling it. It's such an important,
right.
they're taking it so
Yes,
seriously and it's so mission aligned and it requires to do this work, it
indeed.
requires this incredible mix of both like authenticity,
Hmm.
passion, like skill. This is hard work, whether you're a BAM counselor, you're coaching a BAM counselor,
Yeah.
you're managing a program, or you're leading the whole, like it takes a lot. And
Hmm.
this advisory council had incredibly high standards.
Okay.
And because they cared so deeply that this is had to work. Like this was all about what young people needed.
Hmm.
And so it was an incredibly competitive process. And you absolutely, I'd say you were exactly what Boston needed to be successful. And you modeled, so many of the core values of BAM in your prior work, as well as in you have to date, the integrity, the tenacity, and self-determination, and the ruthless self-examination. And
Sure.
so this ability to say with all honesty, um, I face challenges. I've learned from
Right.
them. And I think that's been incredibly important in your leadership because the program didn't like start and now it just is a success. It's an ongoing, continuous effort. And again, you faced, really, really difficult challenges and led us all through them. And the other really important thing of being a great leader is knowing when you need help and
That
surrounding
part.
yourself, right, with
Yes, indeed.
great talent, those who know what you don't. I mean, that's so core to for me.
Right.
And you've done that. You not only assembled an incredible team, but
Right.
you've helped develop the team so that they can bring their own passion and expertise to bear.
Yes.
And I feel like there's just a shared ownership of the success, the mission,
Hmm.
um, in Boston, and I love, the willingness to not be risk adverse and to say, oh, in this, we have to be able to figure out not only to expand to meet the needs in the Boston public schools, but meet the needs in Somerville and Brockton and Cambridge and others in the area who so desperately need both BAM and WOW.
Okay. Michelle, thank you. Right. Again, you hit a lot of um, you know, nails on the head, right, in terms of what I was thinking when you talked about, I'm thinking back to, right, what were some of the first things I did, right, when I got this opportunity? The first thing, obviously, right, I'm a man of faith, right? So one was praying, and just giving all glory to God and praying with my wife, right? And then to your point, it was about assembling a team that could do the work, right? A team that was committed, adults who understood that we are in the business of serving young people, right? And that we lead young people first, right? And that will be at the core of all the decisions that I make as a leader, and that we make as a team. So definitely, right, was one of the first things that I thought about. I saw in the chat, Kevin had joined us, right? And Kevin talked about he thought he bombed the interview, right? Because again, our interview is something like another, right? We take you from head to heart, and it to this day, um, it's something that I really have great appreciation for, right? Because we get to, it's the parallel process. That's the best way I can explain it, right? We talk about the parallel process here, not asking of anything of our young people that we're not willing to do a model ourselves. So we're asking our young Bama Wild Scholars to be in this space and show vulnerability and show up as their authentic self. We have to do the same. So I really appreciate, right, that we get an opportunity to do that in the interview process and see if adults are willing to go there and deal with, right, shadow and things of that nature, right? Because the reality is hurt people, right? And there's a lot of hurting adults who are charged with healing and dealing with our young people who haven't done that internal work, right? So really appreciate that we get an opportunity to do that as adults in this program. And that is what is truly powerful about youth guidance's BAM and WOW programs is that ruthless self-examination that we are able to do as adults. So, that was definitely one of the things. And then the second thing was right, really digesting the sustainability plan that we had put in place. And that was established by Greenlight and Strategic Grant Partners, right? That was like my Bible. Like I was in that every day, weekly, and just continue to carry that with me. And then, like you said, working with our advisory council and the National Office on Implementation. So I'm going to flip our agenda a little bit because I know our scholars are in the room and waiting. And for me, that is what this is really about. So, Michelle, I'm going to ask you and I come back, kind of finish this piece. But I do want to transition to our young people because, again, I am a firm believer, right, that it's not enough just to have our young people be beneficiaries of our program, but right, they should be at the table when we're making decisions, right? So youth voice is really powerful, and I believe that right, our young people should always have space to talk about how the program is helping them, right? But also help us in staying connected to being our best as an ongoing process, giving us feedback on how we can be better leaders, how we can be better, provide better programming. So without further ado, I want to introduce, we're going to have an opportunity to hear from our scholars. We have five scholars from English High School, five seniors joining us from English High School. We have Makai, we have Darvin, we have Marley, Tristan, and Rossi, right? And they will have a space. They're currently at school now, but they're with their youth specialist and their coach, their curriculum coach, as well as the supervisor there. So, peace, Kings. How y'all doing? I see y'all. Thank y'all for joining us this morning. We are excited to hear from you all. So I will hand it over to Mr. V, who is a curriculum specialist, and Mr. Powell, who is one of our BAM supervisors. But good morning, Kings. How y'all doing?
How you doing? What's up, gang?
Awesome. Pleasure to see y'all. Pleasure to see y'all. Jose, it's on you.
Thank you very much. As you can tell, we were slated for five English scholars, and the context behind what you're seeing now is that their band brothers wanted to come and support as well, just to alleviate some of the nerves that they may be feeling in the moment. So at this time, I'm going to have the scholars introduce themselves, just their names, and then from there we'll begin our conversation based on their journey with the program.
I'm Tristan. I'm currently a junior at English High School. My name is Rossi, and I'm currently a junior at English High School.
Hello, my name is Micah, and I'm a senior.
My name is Daniel. I'm a junior.
My name is Darvin, and I'm a senior.
Well, I'm Victor, and I'm a junior.
Rafael, and I'm a junior.
Vino, and I'm a senior.
First and foremost, I just wanted to say thank you and affirm y'all for taking the time to be here with us. I know this is normally your group time, and it speaks volumes to the dedication that you all have to this program. So we're just going to begin having a conversation, right? It's a very natural conversation. The first question I'm going to ask y'all, and please feel free to answer, is what is a skill that you've learned here in BAM that you now use regularly?
I would say being able to see things from different perspectives. At one point, I used to only see things from like my perspective, not really caring about like how other people would like see different things. And when I came to BAM, my group sessions, all the lessons that I've been taught was like, being able to see things from different perspectives, and seeing how other people would feel if I did this, or how I would feel if somebody did something to me. And it really helped me a lot because when I went out there, I wasn't like quick to judge. I was able to see how other people felt and work off from there.
Thank you for that. Ashe. What I'm hearing you say is, your ability to see the different perspectives and also be mindful of how others are going through things and also being mindful of how you're showing up. That's amazing to hear. Yep, Micah.
I agree with what Darvin said. One thing that I've learned from BAM and that I use a lot of the time, every day, is thought replacement, typically positive thought replacement. For example, like waking up in the mornings and coming to school, can be very hard. I know all of us can speak for that. And one thing that I do is like I try to think of the positive outcome. So instead of thinking, okay, I gotta go up, I gotta sit in math class, I'm gonna be tired and all that. I think, okay, I'm going to school, I'm getting my education, I'm making my family proud, I'm gonna graduate, I'm gonna do good in life. And so I think just that, and having, Mr. Clark, he talks with us about that all the time. Pretty much if you like, instead of, because when you think bad, it kind of makes you do bad things. Like, you can't expect to have a good day at school if you come into school thinking negatively and like kind of being down. So I think just that, kind of the thought replacement of positive things rather than, the
Shay, thank you for that. Thank you for that. One more. What is something that you learned in BAM that you use regularly, whether it be at home with your friends or in your community?
I would say anger management. Like I used to think very negatively, and I used to feel like not every problem could be solved with like in an aggressive way. So like, well, BAM, my third year in BAM, sophomore year, like I don't know what it was. It was like a flip. Everything just changed. Like I started really like looking how everything can be like if I think differently about stuff like that.
I say. Affirmations as well, because some of the things that you're currently learning right now, if I remember from the last session you all had, was focused around positive anger expression and looking at different ways to normalize being angry, but being very mindful of how we respond with our anger. And as someone that's been here for a while, seeing your personal journey and growth when it comes to dealing with anger and how you've gone from initially always responding with aggression to now being able to step back and think about, well, is it worth it? Is it aligned with what I want to be and who I want to become? Just speaks volumes to the growth and the dedication that you've had throughout this program. So I wanted to affirm you for that. My next question is, what has changed in how you thought about the band program? So think about the very first time Mr. Clark walked up to you and was like, hey, y'all, I got this band program. And I know he doesn't say, hey, y'all, so apologies about that. Hey, I have this band program. Can you connect to what you was thinking back then compared to what you think about the program now?
I would say when BAM first started, I was like why am I here? Like I don't need nobody to talk to or nobody to guide me. Like I used to think I could do everything by myself. So Mr. Clark, he came at first. I was like, nah, like this is not for me. And I slowly started to progress and be like, oh yeah, this is like a place where I could be educated on certain like going through life. So yeah.
Say others.
Now I was gonna say like first joining BAM, like I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought like my friends are doing it, so I'm thinking it's just gonna be a program I'm gonna join just to have fun with my friends. But then like when we actually started doing lessons, I started to like realize it's like something I want to get involved in, and like I can see myself like progressing in it, and like it helps me like with my daily life, like it helps me like just be a better person. Like Mr. Clark, like talking to us every like day of the week, just checking in on us, like it helps just cool us off and like a peace of mind. But I feel like now BAM is great and it helps you become a man.
Sure.
Man, first time I seen BAM, he actually came into our auditorium and he was just saying like, yo guys, like come join BAM. This is what we do. I was like, damn, what is BAM? Like I don't even know what this is. Like who even comes to the school and does this? And then, I decided like it was something in me telling me like just give it a try. And then as I came and I like progressed every day, it was just like it was more than just like the Celtics game. It was more than just like all the fun incentives that they brought to us. It was just like we were able to connect with one another through like different experiences we had in life. And it was just seeing Mr. Clark, being involved with us even outside of our groups. Like he came and checked up on us like when it came to our grades, our schoolwork, you know, like he tried to support us outside of school also. Like he was just always there for us, and it was just like it's just more than that, and that's what really, you know, kept me in here longer.
Affirmations to you all. Great work, great work. You got these?
Yeah. Probably like started, we were like 8th grade, it was open house. And I remember like we're on the first floor walking up with my mom and I see Mr. Clark was talking and he was talking to my mom. I'm over here just looking, I'm like, this program, I thought I'm about to get sent away. And then later on, I go to the program. We went to like our first circle. I'll be honest, I was a little scared, nervous, not gonna lie, but over time, like the bond grew stronger. Us with Mr. Clark is like a different type of bond that is like different in this environment or this school. Like me and Mr. Clark, like he talked to me outside of school, like to check up on me. Like some things that some teachers don't do, or some counselors don't do. Like he made sure we were good. Um, like now, this program is.
Thank you. I said,
I agree with what Danny said, as well as others. I know when I first joined, my friend Troy, who graduated last year, he's the one who told me about it. I thought it was just gonna be like, I didn't know it was as much of like a mentorship program as it was. I thought it was kind of just like a school thing where you go once a week and like talk, you catch up on work. I didn't know kind of like how big it would grow to be. But like all of them said, Mr. Clark, he's been like way more than that. Connecting with us outside of school, and I feel like each one of us has like a different relationship with him than like others, and then other teachers. Like I think we see him more as like kind of more as like a father figure than more like a teacher. Like the stuff that we talk about, we know he keeps it real with us, we keep it real with him. And so I think just, over time, just that like what Danny said, the bond of, us getting closer, really, I feel like it really, brought us together.
I say, perfect time for affirmations to Mr. Clark, the great work that he's doing. And affirmations to each and every one of you, right? Because at some point, each and every one of you had to make a decision to trust us and to trust this program. And it's beautiful to see that trust is being repaid. So I just wanted to affirm each and every one of you for stepping up to the call. You mentioned something, Micah, about how it was a friend of yours who was a senior who told you about the program, which leads perfectly into my next question is, thinking about how you just answered the previous question, what would you say to somebody who's thinking about potentially joining the program?
Do it.
Do it. Like test it out. Like go ahead. Like learn the environment. Like get used to it. Like not get used to it. Like try it out. Like you don't have fun until you try.
Right.
Like missing out if you don't.
I mean, I would say the same thing, but I doubt you're not gonna have fun because we have fun in our groups all the time. So, just try it out, give it a try. Trust yourself with it, and trust the others around you.
I would tell them to join BIM. It's a good place to find yourself and to help you guide like the path of life. So yeah, I would tell them to join.
Okay. Appreciate y'all for that.
I would join, but I'd also tell them to like kind of know why you're joining. Like if you want to join because you want like someone to talk to, you want school, you want help with schoolwork, you look for a job, you want people to talk to like around you. So I'd say like kind of do some homework on it, so, like find out what it is, and then kind of make that decision.
Shit. Appreciate y'all answers. Very thoughtful responses, team. Just leads me to this one and final question, right? When we hear, Shawn Brown, our executive director, talk about his journey and his process, a lot of it is about, paying it forward to the next generation. And when I'm looking into this room and looking at all of you, I see juniors and seniors who are at the last chapter of their high school career. So the question then becomes, how will you pay it forward, right? What will you be doing to set your legacy, but also to help pave the way for those who are coming after you?
For me, like I would try to educate the next generation to on the right path. So I would probably tell them to be like BAM is a great place for you to be vulnerable and like figure things out that you don't talk about to other people. So yeah.
Sure. Thank you for that. Any other thoughts?
I would basically say the same thing that he said. Basically, just like, if you need somebody like that you really want to talk to and you don't really trust nobody, I think that the relationship that you would build with your band person that's in your group all the time with you, like, I think it's gonna help you get there. Like, like to find the trust that you need. Even when you're like alone, like I feel like it's just more than like a group. To be honest, like these guys play a big role in just being your mentor, meeting up with you once a week.
I would say, like Tristan said, kind of ensuring them about, kind of like about what we have here. And like when you join BAM, I feel like you don't just join for like your high school career. Like I feel like you're in the brotherhood like for life. Like we've heard multiple stories of different BAM counselors that like they grew up together, they went through different things together. And so I feel like, also like, kind of building connections with other BAM counselors and other students in BAM is a good way to, kind of keep that legacy going.
Appreciate y'all. I just wanted to take a moment to affirm y'all. For context, for those who are on the call, I was the first BAMU specialist here at English, and I got to see a graduating class. And every time I come back and just seeing the amazing work that has continued here, to me that speaks to the legacy of the school and the program that's been here at the school. And I know I've been here for a while. People call me Unc and stuff. So with that being said, right, my dream, right, in terms of legacy is that for one of you, one day, to be in the seat that Mr. Clark is in, to potentially be paying it forward to other scholars, whether it's here at English or somewhere else. I'm honored and privileged to be amongst you all, and I see the great work that you all put in, and I'm super proud and wanted to affirm each and every one of you. And with that being said, that brings us to our line of questioning. I'll bring it back and hand it over to Mr. Brown.
Shay, Mr. V, thank you for that, King. And I'll take it a step further, right? I live for the day actually when one of you all is sitting in my seat, right, and leading youth guidance program as executive director. So definitely want to echo what some of the sentiments that Mr. V has said, right, and just give thanks to you all, right. I truly appreciate you, Kings. Thank you for always showing up, but not only showing up, but showing up as your authentic self. I've had an opportunity to see your growth over the past, 3 or 4 years. And I am extremely proud of you, right? As Mr. V said, ED always say, I don't expect anything or want anything from you all when you become successful, right? I mean, you all are successful now, but when you go to college, you graduate, when you become entrepreneurs and future business leaders, right? My only ask is that you pay it forward, right? Pay it forward and do what someone did for you, right? It's that each one teach one model. And then affirmations to Mr. Clock. Mr. Clock, when I hear you all give affirmations and talk about that relationship, that's consistent across the board for both our BAM and WOW programs, right? 98% of our scholars say they have healthy relationship with adults, and it starts because of the relationship with their youth specialist and their WOW counselor, right? 98% of our scholars say that their youth specialists and counselors have helped them believe that they're going to graduate from college. So you all are just, again, affirming that and those relationships. So thank you all for your time. Don't know if there's any questions for the scholars in the chat, or Michelle, if you wanted to offer a couple of words to our scholars or ask a question.
It just blew me away. That was just a great conversation, and thank you for not only sharing today, but just for letting us be a part of your journey in a small way. You're going to achieve great things. And I just learned a lot, even just from hearing your reflections on, what you've been able to get out of BAM and what you carry with you day to day. I guess one question I have is, uh, do you know how to find youth guidance after you graduate from college so you can come back and work with us? Just want to make sure.
Yes.
We do have BAM counselors currently working for youth guidance who started in the BAM program, and honestly, they're the best BAM counselors. So just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
Remember us when you're post college. Remember youth guidance and come back and join us.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Kings, thank you. I want to let you all get back to class. I know you all have to get back to class. You're excited to get back to class, so we're gonna let you all get back to class. And I will see y'all soon. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome. Awesome. Wow. Wow. That's the if the band father was here, Tony D would say that's the paycheck, right? And that's why we do this work. That's why I say I don't work a day in my life, Michelle, and I love doing what I'm doing, right? Because again, I know who I'm doing it for, right, and why I do it. So I remember sitting in that same seat that those young kings are sitting in, right? And there was a mentor that I had, right, Ed Powell, I'll name him, right, who said, "Listen, I see so much potential in you, right? Take that negative energy and channel into something positive, right?" And it was being in that space, right? So when I think about that relationship and I think about my journey, I always say I was that BAM scholar, right? Ed was that BAM youth specialist and mentor for me. So truly, truly surreal. But I want to close with the last slide that we have and want to be mindful of time. I know we have about 5 minutes, but I do, right, since it's up here, if we can go to that catalyst for transformation, because this was very important, right? And I just want to name, and it speaks to right, Michelle, just your belief and support, for Boston. This slide speaks to what was our catalyst for change, and it was us facing dramatic challenges last year with the loss of ESSER funds, ESSER and opera funds, coupled with the declining enrollment of the public schools K to 12. We were faced with having to lay off a third of our staff. However, right after absorbing the initial reality, you know, started to communicate with the team. And we saw it as an opportunity, right, to stay connected to being our best as an ongoing process, not just as individuals, but as an organization, right? So that was an opportunity for us to be better. And here's where we double down on we don't do this work alone, right? Here's when we leaned into our 3 C's of collective collaboration plus collective effort equals collective impact, and really leaned on our collaboration and partnerships, right? So it was an all hands on deck approach, who helped us with making some of these decisions, right? Starting with working collectively with our youth guidance, right, national office, and our executive management team, right, our EMT team, Michelle having the conversation with you, being in community with our other executive directors across the country and being able to have conversations because they experience the same thing, right, at some point. So then it was also being transparent with our funders, where we stood, and they stepped up, right? Lori, who is my director of development, we always talk about the importance of relationships, and we saw that when we were faced with this challenge the past year. I also leaned into our advisory council. Michelle, you have talked a lot about how instrumental our advisory council members have been to our success. So I really leaned on our advisory council. I really leaned on executive director at Greenlight Fund, Melissa Luna, right? In terms of just conversation, being a thought partner for me was important there. Our national director, right? Again, AJ, who also is a thought partner in the air for me. So again, really leaning into those relationships and partnerships, and then working closely with our BPS district leadership around school selection, right? Because we had to go from 12 schools to 7, right? But wanted to make sure that we were collaborative in that approach around, okay, with 7 schools, does the district want to prioritize, right? And not just making that decision alone. So that was a partnership between, like I said, our district leaders. Also working with our elected leaders, right, about meeting the needs of future funding. So really being intentional really being intentional and working with our electeds, bringing them into the space to have experience a site visit. Because one of the things we say all the time, and I say all the time, is I can talk about the program till I'm blue in the face, but it's nothing like experiencing the opportunity and being in that space with our young people, right? That really brings it home for us. So that support helped. And then our school partners showed up, right? And they answered the call. They welcomed these site visits. They were actively engaged. One of the things we really we hang our hat on here at Youth Guidance is the systemic engagement, relationship, and partnership with schools, right? Not just wanting to be seen as a partner, but really wanting to be seen as part of the fabric of the school and the community. So that served us well, right? That was really important. So this is what I mean when I say we don't do this work alone, and that I'm grateful for our partners. So I want to invite you, Michelle, right, to just talk about um, conversation if you can, right? Why you, when I had a conversation with you around, okay, here's our reduction, we had to cut a certain amount of staff and things of nature, I came and asked, right, can we um, be supported by national? And you were receptive, right, to what my ask was. So I wanted to just give you a couple minutes to close with why you were comfortable with supporting me in the capacity that you did during that time. I think it would be a great way to close this, bring this all together and talk about, right, as we think about our next community conversation, what that agenda is going to look like.
Shawn, gun violence is now the leading cause of death for young people ages 5 to 17. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for young people in the same age group. They need us. You listen to the sense of hope and optimism of the young men, the scholars who just joined our conversation. They haven't given up. We can't give up on them. They will lead us out of this. If we can stick through by them during the most challenging times. And as an organization, the operating environment we're in, this is so incredibly challenging. And all the institutions who support what you're doing are also struggling. So it's not a matter of, retreating. We can't retreat. And we had to deal with the realities, right? Like, the pullback of public funding, because of the strains going on in the country, the challenges that corporate America are having with being able to give, and philanthropy is dealing with. So, when you engaged with us as leaders at Youth Guidance, it was as partners, right? Like, how are we gonna get through this with the limited options that we have and the constraints we have, and it's painful to know that you lost a single staff person during this time because of how talented and committed all of your team members have been, and to pull any resources out of schools that are struggling so significantly when educators need your team's expertise. They need that support. You heard from the scholars who just spoke about the kind of special relationship and special support they get from their youth specialists and their counselors, because we're bringing that expertise and capacity. It adds that support to the whole school community, not only the young men and women in our programs. It lends that incredible support to the other educators in the school building. So, again, we have to figure out how to be focused during this period of time, knowing that we will get through it, making the tough decisions we have to, right? Of needing to recalibrate the scope of what we're doing. But knowing that we, again, in your team and your advisory council and the champions you've enlisted are also working with us to find the path forward, right? To mobilize new resources, to unearth additional, whether it's on public funding or private funding or individuals. We've launched a campaign specifically for this purpose to say, could we have, reserves and working capital so that, with the ebbs and flows of public funding, we don't have to, scale everything back, that we can stay the course. And
Okay.
again, your team is working and the advisory council is working and it's so hard to find and have been successful, right, in mobilizing new resources to help us get back to the scale that you need and to preserve and fortify support for the young people depending on us. So I do see a bright future, but this is a
Okay.
very difficult time, but we're in it together, right?
Indeed, we are. So, Michelle, thank you. We are at time, and I want to be mindful and just say thank you to those who are still on the call, right, and giving us an extra few minutes. Michelle, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your commitment to young people, and just truly grateful to work alongside you in this work. For our folks on the call, I want to leave. If we can just go to the questions, there's 3 questions I want to leave you with as we think about what next community conversation, coffee conversation will look like. What do you want to know, right? So these are 3 questions. What feedback do you have for us? And where would you like to see us go next? So just think about these questions. You can write email, you can text, or however you get in contact with us, and we will take that data and be intentional in making sure that we bring it to our next conversation. So thank you all for your time. Truly appreciate you. And then I will end on how I started, right? We don't do this work alone. Um, it truly takes a collective effort. Collective collaboration plus collective effort equals collective impact, right? We are able to have the impact only because we are intentional in making sure that we collaborate with our partners. So again, thank you all. Create a blessed day, and I will see you all soon.